is the end of January, it's actually a really warm afternoon. It feels like the sundowner winds. But because it is the end of January, it is time for the big pruning on my Bougainvillea glabra, and I'm going to show you what I do. And oddly enough, it was a little cool in December. We had some cold evenings and some cold days, but my Bougainvillea has shed hardly any leaves. You know, sometimes it goes semi-deciduous, which means it drops some of its leaves, but not that much this year. But what I do at this time of year is I do the big pruning that sets the tone for how I want it to be throughout the year. So I want it thinned out a little bit down in here because it gets so dense from this growth up here when it really fills in. And then I want to take it back from the garage so there's access to the garage door. And then up here, I want to just trim it a little bit along the top because I don't want to do a solid fine like a hedge because I could just take hedge clippers and do that. But I just want to keep it just at or below the height of the garage there. And this is Bougainvillea glabra. It gets to like 25 to 30 feet. It's a very vigorous grower. Once the sun gets strong and it gets warm, this thing takes off like crazy. So that's why I have to do a pretty big pruning at the end of January or into February. And these are the water shoots here. They just stick straight up and they don't flower and they don't do anything. So I usually start by finding those and I take out those. Ugh. So here's one here. And this is one of the smaller ones. Oh my goodness, I'm caught. It is like, if you're new to the world of pruning bougainvilleas, it's like being in the lion cage, so you have to be careful. Look at the thorns on this water shoot here. Crazy, huh? I look here and I see that it's going to be a little crowded here. So like for instance, I'm going to cut off this whole branch here. And you want to go in and take off whole big branches at first because if you don't, then it's just going to end up really filling in. So you need to take some off of the outside. After I get done, I'm going to go, after it's all aired out in the shape I want to, then I can go and I can take off some of these ends here just to trim them. Rather than getting a haircut, I'll just get a trim at the end. And I want to take it off of my neighbor's garage too before it really starts to grow on there. So I'm going to take off this whole thing there and that frees it up a little bit from there. Okay, so this is going back on that and it's just sort of a, I don't want to call it tedious because I don't mind it. I really like to prune, so. But you just kind of have to look at it and see. And I gave this a pretty nice prune in, I think it was like the end of October, so it's not too crazy. And I also take it up off of the driveway too, because sometimes it grows so full and so so crazy that it's on the driveway and I want it up. And I don't like this one. This one is really long, and as you can see, it didn't have a lot of growth on it, so I take out those. It's just kind of like a layering, and you look at it and you see how you want it to grow. And like any kind of pruning you're doing, it's good to stand back every once in a while and look at it. Bougainvillea is so full that it's hard to really massacre it. Although, I should take that back because when I bought this house, this Bougainvillea was just pruned like a chimney. It was just a big, long, solid green mass going up and down, and I didn't even know what it was because it didn't have any flowers on it. But I let it grow out and I opened it up and I trained it across the garage. Okay, here is one of the other water shoots. It's like, ugh. Crazy, huh? And it was going to get even taller. And it does absolutely nothing except take energy off the plants. Although these plants are so tough, I really haven't supplementally watered this plant in like 3 or 4 years now because we're in a drought. We did get some rain about two weeks ago, so got some water, but it has looked just the same as when it gets a lot of rain. So it's one tough puppy. And I also like to keep it away from this area in here because it's sort of it's an area where like ground morning glory grows. It's a lot of stuff back there. It's that dubious property that belongs to my neighbor and I, so it's not anything all that attractive, and you can't see it anyway. But I like to keep it pruned back a little bit, just so there's a little air here, and I also like to keep it pruned away from the garage here. Here it goes closer to the garage, but I will thin some of that out too. So I'm basically doing the same thing up here. I'm taking out whole branches. Some of them are large and some of them are small. Some of the ones that cross over, see, like it's really kind of full right here. And I will, as I said, take off the ends too, just to clip it back in a little bit on the ones that remain, because otherwise it'll be out to here. So I'm up here on the roof. I'm talking loud because it's just a little windy. I just crawl up on the edge of the shed, and then this way I can get all these branches up here that I really have a hard time getting down below. And it's mainly just the ones that really jut out and stick up a little bit too much that I don't want. This is growing against the garage, so I'm going to take out this here. And as you can see, I don't want to make a solid hard edge. I just want to prune some things out and thin them out. Oh, it's getting windy up here. So I thinned it out along here, and over there's probably a little more that I can get, but it's getting really windy, and it's the end of a very long week. It's Friday, almost 5 o'clock, so I'll probably, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see how that looks. To me, Lucy says it looks okay, and this is all nice and trimmed away from up here. And now I'm going to do my graceful dismount. There we go, a 10.0. Uh-oh, I left the Velcros on the roof. I get a 9. Okay, there's Lucy up there. I handed her the loppers because there was one big branch, so she volunteered to get up on there. So there we go, there's the big tools. So all done. It's in its winter state, but it's really putting on out a lot of new growth. And it still is showing a lot of color, and it has a lot of bloom coming to it. So that's why I wanted to get on this right now before it really starts to grow and get crazy. What I did is I wrote down what I do when I prune this, because I've just been doing it for so long. I thought I should really think about it so I can tell you and do a quick recap of it. Notes in hand. First, I stand back and I look at the plant. I determine the shape I want it to be and what I need to do. I work my way in by thinning out whole branches on the outside. I don't take all these small cuts because it's just going to fill in and become too dense. I take out whole branches so I can layer it a little bit inside. Then I thin out the insides because as the plant grows with the warm weather, which it is very warm now. It is February 22nd. We have a lot of sun and beautiful, nice, warm temperatures, so this is coming to life. Those parts underneath will be shaded out by the dense outer growth. And they just become thin and weird and scrawny, and so out they come. And as I go along, I remove those big water shoots and those big things that stick out. Then I trim the outer edges. You saw me up on the garage and up here. And for me, as I said, this entails getting up on the garage roof. I like to keep it level but not straight across. And then I pinch too for a big bloom, because if you remember I did a video about that. And then I might need to thin a bit more as I go along doing this. So just try to take whole cuts. rather than a bunch of small cuts. Otherwise, it's going to be a big blob. And be careful and watch the thorns, because it does have thorns if you're pruning for the first time, and watch your eyes, because a lot of the stuff will fall into your eyes and you don't want that. So what I basically just need to do now is I need to, I'm going to go and take it in along here so it pulls it away from the garage door. And if I have forgotten anything when I go back through all these clips, if I've forgotten anything, I will leave it in the post as usual, and the link is on the screen at the end, and the link to the post is also down below. So I hope you have enjoyed this, the final big pruning I will do on my bougainvillea, because I am leaving this house and this garden. So I hope you found it to be helpful when pruning your own bougainvilleas if you want to get them into a crazy shape. It's not that hard to do, it just takes some work. So I thank you for all your likes and your comments and your subscribes. I really appreciate them. And I have a lot more gardening videos coming your way, so stay tuned for that. And speaking of gardening and gardens and garden, let's get out in the world and make the garden a more beautiful place. Let's get out in the garden and make the world a more beautiful place. I think they go hand in hand. Actually, I think that's interchangeable. As always, I thank you so much for watching. Ooh, I'm pruning happy. Woo! Bye.